All right, so as a research consultant and of course a development consultant as well, and a public affairs analyst, I know that you must have done a lot of surveys and a lot of analysis. What do you think is challenging those in the private sector the most in Cross River State? Or even in Nigeria as well?
Yeah, okay, let's begin from the private sector that you've talked about. Their challenges is in terms of business environment, enabling environment. Now, you have the resources. I want to set up business in Calabar, where the raw material is. And my market is outside Calabar. The first challenge I face is how to take my commodity outside. So you see that somebody who is coming to do business here and the market is outside, we are not able, he becomes afraid because he will produce near source of raw material. It's going to be cheap and everything, but how is he going to make money from that? Two, from the government aspect, if it's policies and laws, Nigeria has about the best policies. Implementation is a problem. And government is facing this because we have consistently relied on political appointment as compensation for support in political activity. So we seem to have square pegs in round holes. And when you have a square peg in round hole, that's problem number one. The problem is compounded when the square peg, which is finding itself in a round hole, is not willing to look for people who will help him or her fit in perfectly into it. And that brings me to the issue of having phobia for intellectual capacity. So a lot of the system, you have people who have phobia for intellectual capacity. You're not ready to bring people to support you. That you're the head of that MDA. You need to succeed with others. Learn to do teamwork. A team is together. Everyone achieves more. If you as a head of the team, you succeed, every other person around you feels happy. I'll give you a typical example. Our president is not an astronaut. But if Nigeria is able to launch a rocket and we get to the moon in his time, the credit will be that in his time, that Nigeria had gone to the moon. But he didn't follow the astronauts. You need a lot of people who will sit back and achieve it. He didn't design it. All he needed to do was to create that enabling environment and confidence in them. And that's where it brings me where we are not able to harness our God-given talent. The Ministry of Technology and Innovation, I think we just create them by names. There is virtually nothing you're talking in terms of creative capability that God has not given a Nigerian the ability to do that.
Okay, so let's be Cross River Pacific now. So now let's talk about MEDA. Let's talk about Ministry of Commerce. Let's talk about other related ministries that are supposed to create an enabling environment. Let's not talk about the governor because he has given you can be given a platform. You have to show capacity. Would you say that those people are doing what they ought to do?
Now, the governor, in terms of his vision, fine. His plan, fine. His courage, fine. He's somebody who is accessible. If you are able to have opportunity to meet His Excellency Senator Prince Bassey too, and you are talking to him, even without you having having what you presented before him given to you, you go home with a feeling of satisfaction because he treats you like a human being. He gives you the ear. So his courage and acceptability, it's one thing that is going on. And the ordinary man on the streets here in Calabar, in the Fig Palace, they gave him the name, the street people, Okobo Wombom, and that's somebody who has mercy for people. And that's a rare gift. Now, with that, he has had confidence in people and brought them in to his cabinet, and that's where you're bringing. I think that, number one, a lot of his cabinet members are still struggling to find their feet. This interview is being done, we're getting to the second year. Yeah. So, a lot of them, a few months, we're going to get into the second year. So, if you're still struggling to find your feet by understanding your mandate, it's a problem. Now, I also think that what he needs to do is to see how we can look at the Oransayan report and domicile it within Cross River State by cutting down MDAs. The number of MDAs are much. I know that sometimes these are done to create spaces for political, settlement, but it shouldn't be at the expense of the growth of the success of the administration.
Okay, so let's be very, very straight to the point. We've said that we need people who can speak truth to power. Yes. And then we can't fund people to failure. And then, of course, whatever policy or whatever decision that is being implemented is for the good of all. Yes. And whatever policy that is not being articulated is to the detriment of all. Okay, so the governor recently came up and said people should submit their performance index, and then a lot of them have submitted. And then, you and I know those who are doing well, and we also know those who are not doing well. Yes. What would be a recommendation? Would you recommend that the cabinet should be reshuffled? Some people should be removed. People who know what to do should be brought on board. What is your take?
Number one, even before coming here, I've spoken on that. His Excellency need to do a cabinet realignment first. Okay. Ministerial realignment, cabinet reshufflement, get core people who know what to do to be there. Now, you can't throw away political activities. In the ministries, we don't need 13 to 15 maximum. That's what we need.
Okay, can you take it a step further by telling me from your own standpoint the ministries that you think they are doing well?
Doing well is relative.
Okay, that are productive, that are beneficial to the people, that have been able to play their role interchangeably to accrue or maybe impact on the people of Cross River State.
No, I think those who know me. I call a spade a spade. It will be difficult right now to begin to put any ministry at 50%. It will be difficult.
You cannot put any ministry in
at 50%.
At 50%.
No, yes, I cannot.
Wow.
I cannot put any. Okay, I cannot put them at 50% when I compare what they are doing to what they are supposed to do vis-a-vis the vision and mandate of the governor, which has presented the People's First Manifesto. Now, in the first year, an agency that I want to give some level of kudos is CUDA, Calabar Urban Development Authority.
Okay.
Comparatively to the previous administration, Calabar has seen some level of sanity and cleanliness. So for CUDA, I can give them, 50 plus and all. Now, our expectation in other areas, it's
so
not...
the 31 ministries have not been able to score...
No. I'm being very blunt. Any person...
What is your reason for saying that?
Pregnancy is visible. Well, look here. So where is it? Show me what they have done. And I will tell you. Show me what they have done.
Okay, what do you think is challenging them the most? Right?
Now, number one, they are not creating a core think tank that will help them in terms of capacity. That you made a commissioner. You made a commissioner in that ministry. The ministry is for cross-riverians. You're not limited to only the people within that ministry. Okay. That cross-riverians outside will have capacity to. Because if you fail, we have failed as a state. Okay. They are not reaching out. They are too enclosed. And when you have the things to offer them, even pro bono free, they become lethargic. And you feel that somebody is coming to take your position. No, it's not every person who wants to offer you technical ideas who is coming to take your position. No.
So why are they not being able to leverage on their position to draw down certain things from the national? What do you think is challenging them the most?
When you're saying draw down from the national, is it not when you have a people-centric thing and a program that can fly that you bring down?
So why are they unable to design such a program?
And that's why I'm saying that, because most of them who are in there do not have the technical capacity.
Okay, the technical capacity.
Yes. And that you don't need to...
Why would people without the technical capacity being brought on board in the first place?
No. First and foremost, you're coming in to provide political leadership. That's what commissioners are providing.
Okay.
So you provide political leadership and you have departments across. So in each of the departments, you have technocrats. So listen to the technocrats who are there. And ask out from them. They will help you now bring people to help you work.
So are you not saying that there is a sort of dichotomy between the political leaders and the civil servants?
No, that's not exactly as if it is. But I think that we are not harnessing on the benefits of the people who are there. The civil servants are the engine house. Okay. Do we even listen to them? That's the truth. Sometimes do we listen to them? You have a commissioner who comes in and has an agenda to follow. And when you have the people who are technocrats telling you this is how we want to follow, no, you say no. It doesn't mean that your agenda is not working. Put your ideas up. Allow people to shoot positive holes into it. And let's fine-tune it for the good of others.
Okay, in terms of political leadership, how well have they done? The 31 ministries.
If you have good political leadership, it should translate to physical activities that we want.
So
if I'm telling you that we have not seen, I find it difficult to put any of them at 50%, except for CUDA, which you can see the things that they are doing. I find it difficult to put any of them.
So holistically, both the political leadership and both the implementation of ideas and all of that.
Yes. Wow. So we need to sit back and we need to call a spade a spade.
Okay.
And that's when we need to do.
But is that a good thing? Is that in any way helpful to Cross River and Cross Riverians?
It's helpful if we are ready to tell ourselves the truth and understand that there's an issue and draw a plan to move forward. It is not helpful when we sit down and pretend that all is doing well. Now, when I talked about skills and all that, you mentioned 2 core MDAs, MEDA and mentioned commerce and industry. We just did a trade fair. In your thinking and was that the right time to do the trade fair? What is a trade fair? Is it to bring local governments and begin to ask them to come?
But how productive was the trade fair?
It's you and
How lucrative was it?
Your answer is as good as mine.
You are the development consultant.
No, if you are looking,
and you are the research analyst.
No, if we want to put trade fairs,
I want to get your standpoint.
I'm going to give you. I'm not reneging on it.
Okay.
So everybody's entitled to his opinion.
Okay.
If the aim of a trade fair is to open up the marketing space in Cross River State by bringing people outside with their goods to come and sell, and also showcasing what we have in Cross River State, then we didn't achieve it. We didn't. It was ill time. The purchasing power wasn't there. That's when we were negotiating issue of minimum wage. We had not sorted that out. Because in trade fair, it's about sales and purchases and people are bringing. People don't have that power to purchase. They have not even fed themselves and you're bringing it up. And they started bringing local governments. The local government were barely, new, trying to find their feet. And it was an abysmal performance. If it was well timed, you're going to have and then the other annoying part is that you had to go and do the trade fair in a FIFA-approved football pitch. So when you have Calabar municipality, where we do the Christmas village, that's where the trade fair ended on the 26th of November, if my memory doesn't fail me. And after that, they started preparing the Calabar Christmas village at the municipal council. Simple sense. And in terms of complementing each other, would have been commerce and industry, would have liaised with the carnival organizers and say, okay, event management, and say, okay, let us build this, because it's virtually the same thing. Let's build it at Calabar municipality, start the trade fair, and then once we finish the trade fair, those places will transit into being used for the 21 days Calabar or 30 days Christmas village. They built it there, and after building it at the stadium, when they finished, they dismantled. Colossal wastage of resources, number 1. 2, the fields, you have nails. The state is preparing for the National Sports Festival, and you are coming to block people from training in that space. And then you cannot now, they have not even put people to go to the area and pick nails. So it's not only talking about failing in the area of the ill-timed nature of it and not achieving what it was. You're also impeding on another MDA. You're not helping. So if they're going for sporting competition now and things, people are not performing well based on, absence of facilities and not using it. So you look at it. So these are the kind of, one thing begins to have a ripple effect and it's affecting other. So those are the things. One of the things we need to do is to come back and see how we can begin to do a ministerial realignment. Okay. That ministerial realignment, we don't need to balkanize them. Return back sports, for instance. Thank God at the national level, there's no Ministry of Sports. Okay. Return sports back to Ministry of Youth and Sports Development. Right. There's a meaning in it. We get back to it. Agriculture. Get agriculture back to one roof.
All right, so let's play the devil's advocate. Yes. When you have a people-oriented governor, yes, who is people-centered and is very amiable by all and is loved by all, and then you are now having a team that cannot be rated above 50%, what could be the worst-case scenario?
On easy lies ahead that wears the crown. 2 things the governor needs to do. If you don't have a system where you have credible feedback, you will always be told what your followers think you want to hear. The governor wants good governance. He wants to write his name in the sands of time. In the process of doing that, there are obstacles, hiccups we need to address. That's why it's called government. It's a process. Now he has idea to move us from where we are to another place. He needs to set up a structure and a team that is going to give him the feedback clearly devoid of political affiliations, devoid of political jingoism, and bring the things together and say, okay, this is where we need to be. Your Excellency, this is where you plan to, and this is where it is. I'll give you a typical example. Okay. The library. The governor intervened, and you can see where the library is now. Sure. It's going very well. I also want to shock you. The swimming pool we have at the stadium is the second 10-lane swimming pool in Africa. In the entire West African region, no, even the national stadium doesn't have it. And so we're sitting back. You have energy of young persons in two previous administration, in the administration of His Excellency Senator Lee Elimoke, you saw the state rule the sporting arena in the age grade sporting competition back to back for 5 years. Even if we went to have contingent, because it was an enabling environment. Sports and education were tied together. There was a special program that we had people who excelled very well. You're doing competitions at different levels. Those who formed the junior and senior cadre of the state teams were all brought in. While they were going to school, they were still, training in sports. They were doing exactly what you found in boarding houses. And that's something that is beginning to go up. Now, this governor has all it takes in that arena. If you want to look at policy support in the sporting arena, Prince Otu has released, the funds he has released within this short period to the sporting environment is more than what the previous administration had released in its entire 8 years.
Wow.
And yet we are not seeing what we expect to be done. So it calls for us. In fact, let the governor allow external assessment. Assessment is not fault finding. People mistake when you do an audit. They think the audit is coming to find. No, the audit is to look at what you're doing well, what you're not doing well, and find out what are the hiccups and internal issues that we are going to help you to address it and do that. So we must have an independent body which is devoid of political affiliations to help the governor do this audit and assessment. He has asked the commissioners to send their scorecard. Who will fail themselves? Will you fail yourself?
Okay.
So you can't ask them. The scorecard that's going to send, they're going to tell you stories. So this becomes a document for us to begin process of verification.
That be evaluated?
So that's the thing. You can't be writing an exam and marking the exams yourself. So if that is sent to him, for me, that should be a working tool. And she will have independent set of persons. And I don't mind offering myself pro bono. Okay. Let's begin to look at this and use their scorecard to begin to assess them based on what they say they have achieved vis-a-vis what we expect them to achieve. The second and most dangerous part of it, why failure for most of them is inevitable, is that they've gotten to ministries and they do not have strategic plans. So if you don't have a plan,
so almost 2 years, no strategic plan.
No, yeah, so let them, because you can.
Are you saying this on good authority based on research, or you are just saying it based on speculation?
That you are in a ministry. You are in a ministry for cross-variance. The strategic plan you develop must be people-centric strategic plan. So the processes of developing a plan, you get a team of people, get a consultant, help you do it, and by the time you finish, you throw it out for validation. Validation, you throw out to all the critical subsectors in the state, and they look at it. And of course, in the development arena, I have put if you put in the annals of development, I rank within the first 8 in this country.
Okay, now
so if you're doing that, and you're saying that, I'm answering you because any of them who says he has done a strategic plan development, let's look at the process.
What if they did it privately?
Then it's not a plan. It's not a people's plan. It's your plan. That's the problem we have in this country. It is not about developing the plan. It's a process leading to developing the plan. How do you begin to develop a plan and you build a bridge where there's no river?
Okay, so now we are looking at progress. We are looking at being able to encourage people to do well and do better and achieve better results. In the people's government, in your own opinion, how can these ministries, how can these agencies, how can the whole process empower people to lend a voice to their processes?
So what we need to do first is that, like I said, His Excellency must authorize a deep dive assessment. Okay. Not that these commissioners don't have the ability to do well. Mm-hmm. Okay. His Excellency must allow a deep dive process. I'll be willing and ready to provide technical support and direction in that. So when you do a deep dive across all the ministries, you'll be able to know what the situation is, what the problem is, what their mandates are, and also work with them to help them articulate how to achieve the mandate. Because if you bring somebody to come in, and the mandate of that ministry with another ministry seems to overlap, there's going to be conflict of interest. So the deep dive will also be able to recommend to His Excellency in the realignment of ministries that we can bring together. And then you do that, so we begin to move. It is until that is done, we'll understand the real problem with them, look at where their capacities are, because each and every one of them have their individual capacities that I believe have not yet been tapped excellently. So we find out if you're good in recreation, if you're good in hotel and tourism, and you're carried into agriculture, for instance, or carried into environment, or carried into education, you'll be struggling to find your feet. But if you're taken to your comfort zone, you will see that with the snap of the finger, ideas will begin to flow. So these are the things that we need to do. And the earlier His Excellency treats it as an urgent thing, the better it is for him to have his people's first manifesto, achieve them as it is. Because I'm here to look at things and say, this is getting to 2 years.
All right, so now let's look at the People's First agenda itself.
Yes.
The agenda, has it been properly articulated? What percentage of that agenda has been articulated? Because I'm sure you must have gone through the agenda, the template that was created by the governor in his manifesto when he was vying for the political office.
Yes, in terms of articulating it and developing it as his manifesto for the election, we are satisfied with that presentation. He spoke to the situation of Cross River. No, I'm coming. He spoke to the situation of Cross River. Yeah. He gave us a picture of somebody who has a reasonable understanding of what Cross River is, where we are, and his vision of where he wants to take us to. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some of the things he has done that we've looked at. He has not completely abandoned everything. Governance is a continuous process. Yeah. He has looked at some of those things that we think that we have, when you're crossing a river from one bank to the other, when you get too close to the other bank and you discover that maybe something is wrong, the cost of coming back and the cost of going there to correct that thing, you look at which one is cheaper. So there are some processes, some actions he has taken to give the state its position, and there are some projects that he has looked at that we need to look at. There are a whole lot more that we need to look at. So in the manifesto that he has brought in, the way he has articulated a few things that are fantastic, that are going on. Now, in terms of achieving it, which is what you're looking at, that's where MDAs are created. He is a vision carrier. The commissioners are people who are working. The MDAs are departments that are working around him with the technocrats who are the civil servants. And for those of us in the development arena as cross-riverians who are all part and parcel of this, we must begin to find our comfort zones and see how we can help to ensure that it goes on. Right now, the challenge we have is that the heads of the MDA are saddled with that leadership to provide political leadership, administrative leadership, developmental leadership in all. They must open up the space for people. And if they don't open, they'll continue to be grouping in dark. It will be difficult for us as cross-riverians who have people with the required technical capacity to support them that were not going on. It's on record that this state has been part of the state that people come to understudy.
Okay, so can I ask this last question? Yes. Can the head of these MDAs hamper the implementation of the People's First agenda?
Of course.
Can they cause the governor, can the members of your team cause you failure?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only failure, colossal failure.
In what way?
Now, you have the idea. You have the agenda. You have shared the things around. And every person is supposed to deliver. It is a pocket of delivery from different NDAs put together that helps us have the bigger picture of your success. And so if they're not delivering, a lot will go wrong. Now, that's where the governor must stand up also. Simplicity and gentility should not be taken for granted. Okay. That's the thing. He's a simple man, he's a gentleman, but he should stamp his leg when it comes to leadership. He stamps his leg when it comes to accountability. Stamp his leg when it comes to service. If somebody you've brought to serve is not giving you what it is, albeit, ease the person out and do the things we need to do. Because if anything goes wrong, most of those MDAs, the head of those MDAs may not be known. They will say, Prince Otu did this, Prince Otu did this, Prince Otu did. Let me give you a typical example that are sharing palliatives when they wanted to give. Everybody is blaming Tinubu, the things. But even the ones that they shared, there are some people who have diverted it, stolen it, rebagged it, and are selling out to people. Is it the president who rebagged it? The president's idea was, okay, as a quick win, let's ensure that this gets to the people. And get in. And then they gave you decided to go and keep it. What was the COVID era where over more than 70% of the state's leadership developed the highest level of kleptomaniac attitude? Because the COVID food which was brought in was for the people. They didn't contribute to it. And you carry it and go and keep. You don't share it to the people, and people were starving. We all saw it come to light when the NSAS protests, took a different dimension and they broke into warehouses. Of course, the people were hungry, and that's what fueled the ugly dimension on it. But even then, you saw governors who excel. You and I know that you put your thumbs up for Professor Zulum as a governor. He's one of the finest governors not because he's handsome, but he's delivering and the people are seeing it. So your ability to deliver as a commissioner, as a chairman, as a head of MDA is open. Is open. Pregnancy is not hidden. And the leadership should sit back and say, okay, let's do this.
So why would you think that the head of these MDAs are afraid of letting in development partners? What do you think should be the issue? Is it that they don't have the financial capacity to finance the process, or they are just thinking that if they let you in, you outshine them, or what do you think is the issue?
Maybe the later thing you said is the real thing. Fear, that's what I'm saying.
So they are protecting their jobs.
They say territorial protection. See, I say it very clear, sincerely speaking. If you offer me, there are positions you offer me, and I will not accept if I feel that I'll be limited, even when the amount is high. I know my capacity, that I'm multi-talented, I'm versatile. I want job satisfaction. So if you make me to head an MDA now, you'll be tying me to that one particular MDA. I would rather beg you, can you give me a position that appears lower, that I can interface with 4, 5, 6 core MDA where my passion is, and help them find their feet. So most of this person is not about money. It's not about money. It's about inclusivity. It's about openness. It's about, nobody, if you succeed, Beatrice, if you're a commissioner and you call me to come and help you, I'm not taking your position as a commissioner. If you present things which are excellent, the governor under whom you're serving will feel happy and excited that that ministry is doing well. And it's you who will say that, I would like to acknowledge that in course of achieving this, I had Dr. McFarlane who worked with me as a technical partner. Do you understand?
Sure.
And these are the things.
And you have the choice
Yes.
not to even mention.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So you look at it, and once you mention to any critical leader that you had gotten services from a technical expert, he sees you from a position of knowledge.
Serious-minded person. Sure.
That's the truth about it.
Sure.
You see, for somebody like El-Rufai, I may not have liked him as an individual. You may not have liked him as an individual. But he's one person that for anything he wants to do, that he comes to an area where he's gray, he's always looking for technical experts to come around him.
Right.
And we have a lot of that to offer.
Okay.
The civil society community where I come from in Cross River is made up of very knowledgeable and sound technical people who are contributing to other states, and we're willing to offer these services to the states.
All right, so this is On Your Story podcast. We are going to be dissecting very, very fundamental issues in the landscape of Cross River State. Nigeria is the only country we have. Cross River is the only state we have. As Cross Riverians, we need to sanitize the landscape by speaking truth to power. And I'm very grateful for this interface with Dr. McFarlane Eja, who is the country director, International Training Research and Advocacy Project. And of course, he's a development consultant, public affairs analyst, and a member of Chatham House, London. And I'm very, very excited that at least people are beginning to speak up. And we are ventilating and also ensuring that people, we are not doing this to pull anybody down.
No.
We are not passing anybody through media trial.
No.
And we
It is
intend
not.
for you to do well. And that's why we are, having this conversation.
And we've pointed it and said, where you want our support, we'll give it to you, technical services.
Sure. All right, so I think that we have to stop here today. There is a lot of conversation, a lot of critical issues to talk about. We'll surely be bringing back Dr. McFarlane, which I know that he can go on for days analyzing issues about Nigeria. He's very passionate about it. But then we were talking about we've talked about two different issues, right? We talked about agenda setting, goal setting, chasing your dreams, and we also navigated to the political aspect and using Cross River State as a reference point. But then you're going to be giving us two different last words. One to the private sector, those who are chasing their dreams, those who want to make a mark in 2025 or want to do something progressive and specific. And of course, for the government of Cross River State, the kitchen cabinet of government. By the way, the kitchen cabinet, are they doing well? I would like to also know that. What is your last word to the people?
And then looking at the government sector, I believe in Cross River. I'm a proud Cross Riverian, and I'll continue to remain a proud Cross Riverian. I'm excited and also have personal confidence on the leadership of His Excellency Senator Prince Bassey II. Is an individual that I've been very passionate about his style from when he was in the Senate. And I think that this time that he has become a governor, the various MDAs, commissioners who have found themselves to be members of the ESCO. It is not by right that you are there. It is an opportunity to serve. And now, where you're having challenges in getting your goals right, challenges in delivering, don't be locked up in the cocoon of the MDA. There are a lot of perseverance who are out to help you achieve what you need to do. And for His Excellency, as we get into 2025, we need that. I want to apply the SMART agenda on his cabinet. Let's begin to make the cabinet smarter. Let's begin to make the MDAs more realistic and enable them achieve by doing a full-scale, ministerial realignment, and then look at performances. There's nothing wrong. Nobody comes in to stay and ends a tenure. There's cabinet reshufflement is a continuous process where people are dropped and new persons are brought in. All we need to do is to ensure that Cross River State works well, and our actions should be in the best interest
of the people. All right, that's interesting. I like that thought-provoking analysis by Dr. McFarland Eja. It's been a very intriguing episode. The edition has been thought-provoking, and I've learned a whole lot. And I'm very excited that I've learned practical steps on how to keep my dreams alive, how to also improve upon certain critical things I must do for myself in 2025. Most of you said that you've seen endless possibilities. Some of you have done your agenda setting. Some have also had their resolutions. But please, whatsoever you do, make sure that you also do a situational analysis like Dr. McFarland has suggested to monitor the process. And you have to know when you're doing well and when you need to get help. You need to seek for help. And there is no shame in doing that. Even in writing, they call it plagiarism. And people plagiarize while other people go officially to make use of those materials and give acknowledgements. All right? So it's when you don't acknowledge that it's called plagiarism, right? Yeah, when acknowledgement is being... Yeah, so no writer can actually write without lifting something from another writer. Likewise, in your agenda setting or in your business development, also make sure that you get the necessary help that is required. My name is Beatrice Akpala. This is Own Your Story podcast, where we talk about your specific stories and also specific issues affecting our landscape. So stay proactive and support the process. Always put your best foot forward as an individual. Bye-bye.